Hello. Hopefully, this will serve as a bit of inspiration for you on your recovery journey. So, this video is just me sharing the first time I really allowed anxiety. I remember it distinctly, and I wanted to talk about it because a lot of you ask, what did I do? In the coaching sessions with people, I share lots of stuff that I've done to recover over the years. I've shared bits in other videos, but I haven't done a full video on things that I've done or specific examples of how I recovered. Obviously, everything I talk about in the videos I've done myself. That's why I know this so well. That's why I don't have to have a script to read off to because I learnt this intimately. So it became my default response, allowing, letting go, letting it all happen. So I haven't always given a lot of specific examples of what I did, but everything in the videos I've done myself. That's why I know this stuff so well. But for a bit of inspiration, if it helps, the first time I allowed anxiety was when I was back in Melbourne after spending time in the UK. I was still in the bewildered state. Couldn't understand why I was having these obsessive and intrusive thoughts. People were telling me it's part of anxiety, so I at least sort of knew that. And I just remember going, what is this? Well, if they're not my thoughts, then why do I have them? Um, they were quite graphic in nature, hard to let go of. And I hadn't ever really allowed them. I was meditating, which was useful, but it didn't really shift anything. And I was Googling madly, which can be a blessing and a curse, but I stumbled upon Claire Weeks and also David Johnson's audio program, which is effectively Claire Weeks's work in a great, simple audio program. Um, and so I started to consume all this information from Claire and David, and I just loved it because for the first time I heard the fact that perhaps this is not serious. Perhaps these intrusive thoughts, the high anxiety, the panic I was experiencing wasn't serious. And I was sort of blown away. I'm like, what do you mean this thing is not serious? I've had panic attacks about it. I've been hypersensitized. I've been in this brace mode for so long. Anyway, I was consuming it all. I had managed to establish good habits like going to the gym, which I always loved. And so I remember the next day after coming across this work, and I got the basic principles of that, that you've got to allow it. I don't think I would have used those words then, but you've just got to let the thoughts come because they're not serious. I can't remember exactly how I thought about it at that time, but I remember being on the treadmill, and I had used exercise to try and get rid of the adrenaline in the past with semi-success. It had relieved tension. It obviously didn't get rid of the anxiety, but it was a useful coping mechanism when I didn't have anything else to go to. So this time I was on the treadmill or the bike. I can't remember exactly which. We'll say the treadmill. Actually, I think it was the bike because I think I was more comfortably sitting down. And I started to have some thoughts come up. And I'm like, all right, well, you know what? I'm just going to let them happen. And I remember David or Claire saying, just let them come, let the thoughts come, let them do what they need to do. It's not serious. It's your nervous system sensitization or whatever they had said, whatever I had consumed at that point in time. And I'm like, all right, I'm on the bike, I'm pedaling away. I wasn't furiously pedaling away. I'm like, all right, I'm just going to try this. So I sort of was doing it with some understanding. I sort of everything they said made complete sense to me because it made sense as to why I was having these thoughts. So I slightly feared them less, but I was still fearful of them. So I started to let them come one after the other. I let the worst thoughts come. I let one come after the other as I was riding away, letting it all happen using my riding on the bike as my going loose method, which I didn't realize I was doing at the time, but I was using that as my way of floating. Again, I didn't fully realize it at the time. I was literally a day into the program, day into understanding what was going on. And I just remember going, oh my gosh, they're coming up and I'm not panicking. I can start to see that these thoughts are unpleasant, but they're not mine. They're not serious. They're not my real thoughts. They're not things I have to worry about. It's just this tension in my body that's fueling it. Now, I can't remember exactly all my thoughts at the time, of course, but I just remember thinking, whoa, this is amazing. And this is the way to recovery. Now, I had a lot of ups and downs from there on in, but I never looked at anxiety the same way again because I was like, oh my gosh, I can just allow these thoughts to come. I don't have to fight them anymore. I don't have to be so afraid of them. I have some much better understanding of what they are. I'm no longer fully and completely bewildered by this state. And I just did it in the best place I could in the gym while I was riding the bike, going, all right, do your worst thoughts. Do what you need to do as I pedal on my bike. Now that's how I did it in reflection. But at the time I was sort of having it, practicing it. I knew practicing as best I could with the tools I had at the time, fresh into it. And that's what I did. That's what I did to really start to turn the ship around and go, right, I know what this is now. It can't bluff me in the same way anymore. And I remember the relief, the excitement, because I knew I was on the journey to recovery and I knew I was on the way to healing by simply allowing the very thing I had been fearing for so many months, weeks prior. So I hope that helps. Feel free to share your successes in the comments for others to read as well, because it's great that I'm sharing, but it helps when you all share your successes too. So if you're happy to do that, please share them in the comments below. I look forward to reading, and I'll share more bits of my journey as I proceed, as we go forward. But otherwise, for now, take care.